Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today, I want you to leave this episode with one important point. If you can understand this powerful idea, everything else will fall into place. You are limitless. So much of what you have in your life is based upon the limitations that you've placed upon yourself. The world is a self-limiting place. You come in as a baby and you are given limits. The limits of the crib that you're in, the room that you're stuck in, and the ideas and beliefs that you're told about the world. These limitations create the reality around you. You are limitless. You have created a concept of the world that has limits. It is a natural and regular part of the process of third density. You are told what you can and cannot do from the very moment you are born. But within this limited space that has been created around you, the truth is that you are limitless beyond measure. You have limitless power within you. Opening your mind to the limitless universe will open the floodgates of miracles, having your name written on them. You have told yourself these lies before. I can only do this. You've created conditions. I can have that when. I will feel happy when. You are limitless. The idea of being limitless is a mindset and the sense of freedom within one's own life. It does not mean that you have no boundaries or that you are negligible of your environment or others around you. Being limitless is the ability to make the decision to be and do anything that is centered in your heart and in harmony with you and the world. You do not have to ask for permission or get approval from any outside institution, person, source, or society. Most of our excuses or rationalizations for why we cannot do something is us giving voice to a fear we have about it. Sometimes we limit ourselves because we fear criticism. It is inevitable that we will receive criticism when we follow our hearts. And that can be really hard, but it is important to stay true to our hearts. Limitless means infinite mobility. Having no limitation as limitation. When we do not put ourselves in a box, then we can move in any direction. Being limitless is to have infinite mobility. Not that you have no path or direction. Being limitless means you have the freedom to pursue any direction to create your life in the way that is the best and most enjoyable for you. Bruce Lee says the mind must be wide open in order to function freely in thought, for a limited mind cannot think freely. Being limitless is to never feel trapped. In order to be limitless, you have to be present. You have to be present in your thoughts, feelings, and environment so that you can be infinitely mobile and take action. If you're in the now, you are creative. If you're in the now, you are inventive. You are limitless. Have you observed how vast this world is? Have you observed how vast this universe is? Have you really looked up into the sky during the night? Are there any limitations? All these are vast beyond our measure, but do you know there is one thing that is much more vast and unlimited than these. What is that one thing? This limitless thing is your mind. This limitless thing is you. The human mind is indeed limitless. You can do what you want. You can achieve what goals you want to achieve. You can turn your imagined world into a reality. What is the reason that being limitless, having such an unlimited capacity, unlimited strength, how is it possible that within this limitless universe, most people live a mediocre life? Most people suffer from failures. Most people are unable to turn their dreams into reality. Reason is that even in reality, we are limitless beyond measure, but we don't believe that we are limitless. If you come away from this episode with one belief, it is that you are limitless. Continually, science shows us there are no limits. If you want to achieve something, if you want to acquire something, then you can achieve it. You have to break this artificial lock that you have put on your limitless mind. You have to tell your mind that this is my dream, this is my goal, and I am going to achieve it. I am going to get it. Then you will see the way begin to open for you. God has sent you to this world, a limitless one with a limitless mind. But it depends on you, that how you consider yourself, how much limit you put on your mind. If you consider yourself as unlimited, one that you will become an unlimited person, and you will automatically get the strength from this limitlessness. But when you count on excuses, you put artificial barriers in front of you, then your mind will accept what you are talking to it, and you will find yourself as weak, stuck, and in fear. You are created limitless. There is nothing you cannot achieve. We fear of the unknown, and that's why we are limited. Once you become fearless, you become limitless. As quoted by Napoleon Hill, what your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. You know what is your strongest enemy. You know what is most difficult in your life to cross. Stand in front of the mirror and you will find your limits. You will find your enemy. Don't let your limits define you. I can't do this because of my gender, where I live, how I was raised, how much money I have, because of my past. How many excuses are you giving for the things that you cannot have? Don't let these limits define you. Believe you are limitless, and you will be. Once again, Bruce Lee says, if you always put limits on everything you do, physical or anything else, it will spread into your work and into your life. There are no limits. There are only plateaus, and you must not stay there. You must go beyond them. As Amy Lee McCree says, you are limitless. Accept this truth and soar to infinity. Most of us complain that we're not good at something. We're not good at riding. We're not good at sports. So you are not good at writing because you are not trying to write. You have not written before. You're not practicing much to be a good writer, to be a good player. To become extraordinary at something, you have to do extraordinary amount of work. You have to become fearless. You have to cross your limitations. In order to achieve your goals, to pursue your dreams, to become successful, first, you must become limitless. You have to unlock your limitless capacity. You have to tell your subconscious that I am limitless. So say this with me. I am limitless. I am infinite possibilities. You are limitless in thought. Your mind is a treasure. You have infinite potential. Realize your gifts. Realize that you yourself are the gift. You are all powerful. Only you can limit you, and only you can break that limit. For the longest time, I told myself that I couldn't write, that I'm not a very good writer, and I limited myself. For the longest time, I told myself I couldn't speak. I'm not a very good speaker, and I limited myself. For the longest time, I would tell myself I am not very good at exercising, so I wouldn't exercise. I had a list of things that limited me. The vast universe is unlimited. You are the creator, and the creator has no limits. You've been placed upon this earth to learn this lesson that there are no limits. What is it that you're limiting yourself to now? What things have you defined yourself as? What limitations have you placed upon yourself? Do you look back at your past and say that that limits you? I didn't get much education. I had a rough upbringing. What excuses are you giving yourself? Every excuse is a dagger in the heart of your infinite nature. You are born with infinite potential and limitless possibilities. Every pattern in your life is a limit. What patterns, rituals do you have that limit you? Are you locked into those patterns and rituals? We must be willing to examine things in the present moment. If the path is not working for you, give yourself permission to turn around from it and find a different route. I meet many people that go through college and then limit themselves because of their college experience. I'm an engineer. That's my limit. I can't do anything else. So they don't look or open themselves up to additional possibilities. How are you defining your life and your world? Is it defined by the education that you have, the social background? I'm from Wyoming. I used to say people from Wyoming can't do anything. That was my limit. This creates an expectation of limits. When your mind is free from these limits, it begins to flow ceaselessly and ignores all the rules and limitations. Do not localize the mind anywhere, but let it fill up the whole body. Let it flow freely throughout the totality of your being. The only way to believe in yourself is to become aware of the power you truly possess. Most of society has been educated to base our worthiness on outside circumstances, whether it be love, health, strength, good relationships, you name it. However, it's crucial to understand that no circumstance can determine who you are. Not a person, not a situation, only you. Truly understanding this limitlessness will help you to find your path to what it is that you want. I love the parable of the soul of the ocean. There was once a lonely soul that lived high within the clouds. This soul dreamed of being part of the abundant, flourishing ocean. One day God visited the soul and asked, "My dear soul, every day I see you looking down upon the earth with a sense of excitement, and yet I feel something is wrong. Tell me, what do you want more than anything in life?" The soul quietly whispered, "I would love to be a part of the mighty ocean, to live amongst the sea life and guide ships home to safety." God then said, "Then go live full and free, be part of the ocean." The soul said hesitantly, and God asked, "What's wrong?" The soul said, "I don't know where to begin, what to do, how to get there." God then said, "Have faith, trust in my creation, believe, and let go." The soul hesitated, and then God asked, "Are you prepared to trust in me that you are limitless?" The soul looked down at earth and with a deep gulp said, "Yes, but it's just so far down. I've always remained in the clouds. This is beyond my comprehension. there are so many limits. And God again spoke softly, "Have faith, trust in my creation, believe and let go." The soul remained in the clouds thinking of what God had told it, and thought of how wonderful it would be to live amongst the fish in the sea. Finally, years later, the soul decided to trust in God's words and embrace its limitless potential and embark upon the dream that it had. It released its grip of the floating clouds and began to gather moisture as it plummeted through the clouds, forming into a raindrop. At that moment, the soul felt tremendous excitement as it went free falling through the sky down towards the mighty ocean. As it neared the earth's surface, it noticed there was no ocean to be seen. Despair began to fill the soul, but then it remembered what God had told it. "You must believe. I am limitless." So the soul continued to allow gravity to pull it down to the land until it finally splashed on top of a mountain. As it sat there, it began to patiently collect more drops of rain and formed into a small puddle. "I'm growing," the soul exclaimed with pleasure. The soul knew that if it were to make it to the mighty ocean, it must continue to have faith in the limitless possibilities that God had given it. The small puddle trusted where it was placed, accepted its environment, and allowed gravity to guide it once again down the mountain. The puddle trickled around the rocks and trees as it flowed down the mountain, accumulating more water as it went. The small trickle became larger and larger, and soon enough the soul began to form into a stream. It began to move and more steadily as it gained momentum, flowing over the small rocks and pebbles. The soul eventually merged into a river, and now easily flowed over the large rocks and moved even faster. It continued to trust in the Word of God, that all was limitless, and it continued to flow for miles and miles until it finally made its way to the abundant ocean where sea life was vast and flourishing. The soul thought back on how far it had come from being a small cloud too afraid to let go, to now becoming the soul of the ocean which guides ships to safe harbors. Think about how your life relates to the soul of the ocean. How much you believe in your ability to get to a certain place will directly correlate with how quickly you get there. We create limitations all the time. We say, "I can't get there. I don't trust God. I don't think I can make it. It doesn't make sense. I haven't seen it in the world around me." If you accept that you are limitless, you will flow like the ocean into whatever it is that you want to do. You must believe in yourself. Live in the present moment. One key step to this, it will dispel unnecessary distractions, limiting beliefs, and negative thoughts that may be stuck in your mind from your past, which always limits you, and your imagined future, which scares you and brings fear to you. This will bring you peace. When you are at peace, you are living at a higher emotional vibration, which will draw from you greater faith. With greater faith will come greater faithful ideas. Following these ideas will lead you to where you want to be. This will bring you happiness, which is in reach for anyone. However, far too often we store happiness in a treasure chest of wealth, health, and riches, casting it far from sight, hoping that someday we will rediscover it at the end of a rainbow. Why do we make it so difficult when what we are searching for is right in front of us? Often we are looking outside for the answers instead of inside. You must understand that what we search for to make us happy is forever present within, just waiting to be noticed. Happiness is not something you are given. You and every other human being already have it. But we are so focused on our limitations that we ignore the present, which is where we are supposed to be. Keeping this fact in mind will help you to live in the present moment, and you will enjoy what you are doing now with trust and faith. I want you to take some time to understand your past and future and the way that you're creating limitations through it. Yes, your past can help you to learn. Your present helps you grow, and your future can be your guide. But you must experience these in a balanced fashion so they don't create limitations. Become aware of what the past means to you. Does the past make you who you are today? Is your past your destiny? There's some questions to ask yourself when considering how you view your past. When you remember the past, you're playing back pre-recorded mental films. Though the past has occurred, remember that it doesn't dictate who you will become. Not at all. Of course, you created habits in your past that guide you in the present. You must realize that the past has already come and gone. It does not in any way control you. You've already paid for the past. So you have the power to change at any time. The past does not limit you. The past is done and no longer exists. Remember that you are in control of how you decide to perceive the past. You are limitless. I invite you to perceive it as something to learn from, not something to dwell on. The past can help you remember important information that can help guide you in the direction of your choosing. Do not get stuck in the past and dwell on the negative. If you do, it will hold you hostage and never allow you to grow in the present. From time to time, use your imagination to gaze into the future as a way to advance life. Imagination is what separates you and me from the rest of the animal kingdom in the world. Imagination is God. We are the only species that is not in total harmony with our environment because we can look ahead and back. This is a blessing and a curse. Many people are forever changing their minds from one thing to another, never satisfied and striving for more, unable to live in the present. As all other animals do, remember yourself daily to be grateful in the present moment, appreciate the current situation, and imagine the future the way you want it without limitation. You are limitless. You must not let your present moment, wherever you're at, limit you, the circumstance that you find yourself in. Another cool parable I've heard is the two lone survivors. They're lost in a mountain range in the middle of winter, and they need to get warm. Neither one has matches or any means of heat to start a fire. All they had was old wood from a fallen tree that lay beside a pond. How could they create heat? One of the men decided to venture out and search for something to light a fire, and as he searched, he couldn't stop thinking of how cold it was and that he would never make it home. He was limited by the cold around him. He searched and searched with no luck, continually thinking, I am cold, I am cold, I am cold, focusing on the coldness. He came upon a cliff where many icicles hung. He continued shivering and said, ice all around me, and I see no sign of warmth. He grabbed an icicle and felt the cold grip of death in his hand. He began to tire and fell asleep, never waking again. His partner, having not heard back from his companion for a few hours, knew something had happened. He also knew he needed to get warm, so he decided to venture out in search of anything that could bring warmth. He thought, I'm so cold, but I need to get warm. I am warm, I am warm, I am warm. He searched and searched for warmth and spoke to himself, warmth, warmth, warmth. Soon he came to the cliff adorned with the same icicles and saw his partner lying on the ground. He grabbed one of the icicles in his hand and felt the cold grasp of death. Just then he began to notice something. He noticed as he held the icicle, his body heat slowly melted the ice away. He thought, how can I get warm? Just then an idea formed in his mind. He quickly made his way back to the old fallen tree, began breaking pieces of wood off, piled it high. He made his way to the ice pond and broke a piece of ice from the surface and began to mold it into a lens with the warmth of his hands. He targeted the light from the sun into a focused beam, directing it onto the pieces of wood. He kept thinking warmth, warmth, warmth. After many hours of directing the sunbeam to the woodpile, he created fire. He warmed himself and used the nearby fallen tree as a smoke signal to be rescued. What are you thinking about in your present situation. If you're struggling with poverty, are you thinking, I am poor, I am poor, I am poor? Or are you thinking wealth, 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 looking for something that can bring you that wealth? I want you to try this for me. For the next 30 days, write down everything you want. Imagine it every morning before you get up and every night before you go to bed. This will shift you and your mind towards the good in your life. Don't focus on the negative in your life. Focus on what you want. Use all your senses to step into your dreams, which will help you to make them a reality. See it, hear it, smell it, taste it, and touch it in your mind. Don't dwell on how you're going to get what you want. Just picture this as a training exercise. You're training yourself to focus on the positive possibilities of life instead of the negative limitations you've created. Your mind will absorb your wants, and they will become so familiar that you will attract them into your life, just as you attracted the negatives that you already had experienced. You must act as if you are limitless. If you are limitless, then your actions become limitless. You can take action from this state of limitlessness, and great things will happen. But you must take action with an understanding that you are limitless. God is always giving you the way to what you want, and sometimes you don't take it. You keep your mind open to the limitless possibilities of the world around you. You will be given opportunities that simply take an action for you to achieve what you want. Another famous story, I'm sure you've heard it. There was once an old man who was caught in a terrible storm. He had his home to shelter him, but as the storm grew stronger, water began to flood the town. He believed strongly in God and prayed that God help him to save him. A policeman drove by and told the man to evacuate his home and go with him to seek safety on higher ground. But the old man said, "I'm not going anywhere. I believe God will help me when the time is right." So the policeman drove away. The water continued to rise, and the old man ascended to the second floor of his home. Just then a fireman in a motorboat called out, pleading for him to leave his home and take this safety in his boat. The old man replies, "I'm not going anywhere. I believe God will help me when the time is right." So the fireman drove away. The water continued to rise until it reached the second floor, and he climbed to the roof and saw a Coast Guard helicopter flying overhead. They threw down a ladder and asked the old man to grab hold and climb up to safety. The old man said, "I'm not going anywhere. I believe in God, and He will help me when the time is right." The Coast Guard flew away. The man remained on his roof until the water whisked him away and drowned him. When his soul entered the gates of heaven, he asked God, "I believed in you until the end. Why did you abandon me when I was in need?" And God answered, "It was I who sent the policeman to drive you to higher ground. It was I who sent the fireman in the boat to bring you to safety. It was I who guided the Coast Guard to your home to fly you away before drowning. I reached my hand out for you many times, but you did not reach back." This happens so often. People begin to believe in the unlimited possibilities of God, but don't take advantage of the unlimited possibilities being presented to them. Many of us fail to reach our highest potential, not because we don't desire it, because our relentless old habits cause us to lose interest. Another reason why many do not push forward is because of low self-image and the feeling of unworthiness. A self-image this low can be disguised in another form, and that's fear. Many people are afraid of failure, afraid of rejection, afraid of not seeing results right away, afraid of the unknown, and afraid of discomfort. While some say ignorance is bliss, truthfully, ignorance actually prevents us from reaching our true potential. The opposite of ignorance is education, and with more education, you become more aware. In reality, fear is a miscalculated illusion, a smokescreen produced in your mind, pulling you away from your dreams. When you're born, your brain is similar to that of other animals. Let's call it sort of a primitive brain, and as you grow, your prefrontal cortex begins to grow, developing a conscious mind and the ability to accept and reject thoughts When you worry about something, your defense mechanism kicks in, and your body does all it can to keep your mind on the problem so that you do not follow through with it. Your primitive brain is not interested in your wants and desires. It has one purpose: to survive. Your primitive brain is programmed to protect you from pain and provide you with pleasure. This programming has developed over thousands of years of evolution. It is instrumental in protecting you from getting run over by a car or being attacked by a bear. But we live in a vastly different world than our ancestors. Have you ever tried to give a speech and been nervous standing in a group? Do you wonder why? Many generations ago, humans grouped themselves in communities to have a better chance of surviving the harsh and unforgiving world. This group of people watched each other's backs, improving everyone's chances. If a member were shunned from a group or became lost, he would be alone and more susceptible to death. So when you're standing in front of a group of people, you're separated and singled out. And that primitive brain interprets this as danger. There's another mind that you can enter into that doesn't fall trap to these primitive instincts. You have to change your fear into excitement and realize the limitless potential that is available to you. Most of the things you worry about never happen. But if you take action and believe, you will succeed. I'm reminded of the parable from the Old Testament of the Bible, the story of David and Goliath. In it, the Israelites were sheep herders and farmers who had this fierce enemy, the Philistines. The Philistines were powerful and evil in their ways. One day the Philistines and Israelites had gathered on a battlefield ready to fight. For 40 days, Goliath, the champion warrior of the Philistines, would go to the front line of the Philistine army and call for the bravest warrior to fight him. Goliath wore a bronze helmet, armor from head to toe, and he had a large sword and spear and shield. No one wanted to fight him until one day a shepherd named David was sent to bring food for his brothers at the battleground. When he got there, he listened to Goliath and became offended that someone would speak this way to the army of the living God. David heard the king of the Israelites say that if anyone beat Goliath in his challenge, they would have the right to marry his daughter and would be given great wealth. However, the army represented by the slain warrior would become slaves to the army of the warrior who won. David went to the king and said he would fight for the Israelites. He had faced danger before when he fought wild animals. God had saved him from them. It was agreed that David would fight Goliath. They loaded him with armor and weapons, but they did not fit, so he decided to fight in his regular clothes. He picked up 5 stones in the river to use against the giant. When he met at the battlefield, the giant was insulted that he had such a small challenge. David was confident and stated that he would kill Goliath in the name of God. With that, they began to fight, and Goliath came rushing towards him. David took a rock out of his bag and slung it at the giant's head, the only part that wasn't shielded, knocking him dead. He then took the giant's sword and cut off his head. When this happened, the Philistine army fled, and the Israelites charged after them. The idea is that he was small and had faith and courage. You can overcome anything. Whatever giants that you need to slay, have no fear. You will overcome them. And we all face our own giants on a regular basis. You are limitless, and all things are possible for you. Live your life with thoughts of wonder, for your thoughts are the creators of your world. And if you allow this belief to sink in, knowing that your thoughts create reality, you must believe that all things are possible. It doesn't matter what your situation, how much you're struggling, how poor you are, what disease you have. It does not matter, because you are limitless. Say it with me, I am limitless. Write it down, I am limitless. And close your eyes and imagine the unlimitless potential that is available to you. Enter into that higher mind, not the primitive mind that brings fear to the world around you. Enter into that higher mind that is limitless. And that higher mind is your imagination. That is God. And when you enter into this and you embrace this idea and remind yourself I am limitless. All things will come to you as you wish. So get that piece of paper and write down what limits you've created in your life. And as you write them down, you'll realize these are all in my mind. These limitations that I've created are in my mind. All of them. If you have a limitation that you don't think you can overcome, I want you to write it in the comments right now. And everybody read through the comments. And if you see somebody talking about their limitations, I want you to point out that they are limitless. Tell them how they are, and whatever it is. You are beautiful. You are wonderful. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care how it is. There are limited possibilities available to you, and there is no limit. The limits we have in the world are the ones we create, and they are creating our reality just as much as anything else. And when we can embrace this limitlessness, anything's possible. Let's enjoy this limitless possibility. That would mean that time doesn't matter. The world can be saved perfectly. All of us can be healed. All of us can be healthy. All of us can find that perfect love. At some point in time, you've embraced a concept of limitation on the world around you. Oh, this world's so crazy. And I was just given a terrible hand. And you've embraced these limitations. I'll never be able to find the success or happiness or joy because of these things. And you have a list in your mind. I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough. Whatever it is, I want you to write them down. Because sometimes when we have these limitations, they are ghosts that exist in our life and we don't know it. So bring them out into the open. Shine a light on them and dissolve them with the great power that you are. You are limitless. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.